So another thing that you're going to find inside your set is one of these bad boys. And this is the prototype of the one that you'll get. This is going to be slightly different than the one that we're using because ours doesn't have a chip on it. Yours will have a chip on it. Yours will look for all intents and purposes like a real bank card. But there were a very specific reason that we wanted to design this because there's so many routines that are built into this one thing. It's light to carry, it's easy to use. So, G, you can pick where we start on the bank card. What effect would you like to see?
Let's go for the big, long number.
The long card number.
Yeah.
So just think of the first number that just pops in your head.
Yep.
Please don't change your mind. Now, I didn't specify we should go for a single, double or triple digit. I don't know what you're thinking of. I want you to put that to your chest for me for a second. Don't look at the numbers on the front just yet. Now, in a moment, when I ask you to look down, I only want you to focus on the first 4 numbers in the long card number. So please don't look at the rest. So do you feel that the number you're thinking of is in the first 4 numbers on that card?
No.
Have a look, see if you were right. Were you right?
That's right, yeah.
But that was just a guess,
Yeah.
right? And I bet that just based on probability, this is 50-50 at best. Do you think it's in the second 4?
Yes.
Take a look.
No, it's not.
So you were wrong.
Yeah.
Now what that shows, again, this is just 50-50, right? But do this again with a third 4. Do you think it's in the third 4?
No.
Have a look, see if you were right.
Yep.
You were right this time, right? Do you think it's in the last 4? You looked that time. You made it easy for yourself.
okay.
It doesn't matter, but I saw by the smile on your face this time that it is in the last 4, right? But you haven't told me what your number is. I have a whole range of numbers to choose from. In that scenario, what we proved is that even just guessing with a small restricted field of numbers, how easy it is to be wrong, right? So you imagine telling me your number, look right at me. Can you think of a playing card suit as well?
Yeah.
So now you're thinking of a playing card if you were to put your number with a playing card suit. So your card's obviously a red card. You didn't do the magician thing and going for the heart, did you?
I didn't, no.
No. 4 of diamonds this time?
It was the 4 diamonds.
4 diamonds, there we go. It's cool, isn't it?
How? That wasn't even the trick. No, that's it. How'd you get that?
It's cool. So this is using it's called a binary principle, but let's not, like I said earlier on in the set, let's not get bogged down with the names because the names are not really important to learning the process. This process works based on a very simple process. The first thing is getting them to think of a single digit. Now you can say, think of a single digit. That's what I'd highly recommend if you've not done this before. I'm a little bit more confident because I've done this for a bit longer and I just say, think of the first number that pops in your head, stick with it. And I go, think of the first number that pops in your head and stick with it. And I hold up one finger, which is suggestive, single digit. I don't go, just think of the first, number that sort of pops in your head. I'm just going, think of the first number that pops in your head and stick with it.
Okay.
And that's it. And so what happens is inadvertently at this point you should be thinking of a single digit.
Yeah.
Now I need to know whether it's in these blocks of numbers. And the reason I need to know is because that's the key to being able to find this out. So trying to explain the mechanics of why this works is very, very difficult. But explaining how it works is very, very easy. So in essence, if we were to simplify it, you could literally say, is your number in that first block of 4? And then they'd say yes or no. Is your number in that second block of 4? Yes or no. Is your number in the third block of 4? Yes or no. And there's a little crib on the back here. If you look where the telephone number is. So where it says customer service number here, you'll see that you just have to see, wherever there's a 1, you just imagine that's where they've said yes. So 0 would be no, they've not. 0 would be no, they've not. No, they've not. It's not there. It's not there. It's not there. And the 1 is a yes.
It's like binary code.
Yeah, that's it. So 0s and 1s. A 0 represents a no, and a 1 represents a yes.
Okay.
So let's say that you said your number is in the first lot, but it's not in any of the rest. All I do is look at the back until I find the one that's got the 1 in the first position, and then loads of 0s after that, and that'd obviously be the number 8.
Yeah.
So you know what number they're thinking of. And with a close-up of this, it's really, really easy to understand. Have you got any questions about that?
Yeah, I want to know, how long did it take you to learn that crib off by heart?
Well, it's only 1 to 9.
Okay.
and there's only really a few different permutations, so it doesn't take too long. I wouldn't recommend learning it off by heart. What I'd recommend is actually taking the card and drawing some lines at the top where the end of the first 4 digits ends, just a little dot at the top. Then where the second lot end, and the third lot. And again, there's all close-ups of this stuff, and then you could take your hand off. So that you know that when you cover these to start with, and you're saying, do you think it's in this first lot? What you can do is just slide your finger back until it meets in line with this.
Right.
And you know now that
right at the crib
that's
on the
it.
back.
That's it. And then the second like this. And what you're doing is just looking at the crib the entire time because it's here.
Yeah.
And all you're doing is going yes, no, no, yes, whatever, and looking at this little crib on the back. So just to almost go over this, because it's a really, really important thing. Every single time you get a no, just imagine the number 0 in your head. And every time you get a yes, just imagine the number 1. Look at your crib. And so let's say that it was no, yes, no, yes. You get no, yes, which would be the number 6. It's really easy to understand.
Yeah.
But it'll enable you to be able to get any single number on here. Now what I did with it, instead of just revealing the number, I then told you to think of a playing card suit and tied it to that. Now just so that you guys know that G's not agreeing with me, I was slightly off on the suit, but you still saw the reaction that it got because it's still hard hitting that you got the colour and the value when you're nailing the card.
It's a weird thing with Mendelism. When you say, it's a red card, immediately I'm like, he knows it. I know that you know the card already, and the rest is kind of like.
And that's it, yeah. And that's it. And what's great about that is, so when I'm going for the suit, there's a couple of different ways to do that. And this is all something that just takes time. The number's the thing that's important here. But when Brad were in the chair, we talked about tying things to things outside of what it is that you're doing. So for example, if you were to go back to the playing cards, we did the thing with the date of birth. Well, this is no different. Because I know the number that it's going to be, I can also then at that point springboard, if you will, off of that to add a suit to it. So there's a couple of ways to deal with the suit. One way is to say to them, look at me and just take an out and out guess. One way to go for the colour, it's going to be 50-50. Either way, when you get to taking a guess at that point, you're going to be relatively close. So let me give you a couple of different examples. So you think of a playing card for me. And we're only really interested in the suit, but if you've got the full card, that's better for me. So you're obviously thinking of a red card or a black one, and I don't know which that is. Now, you didn't do the thing that everybody else does and go for the spade, did you? No, okay, but I don't know what suit you're thinking of. Well, now I know he's thinking of a club.
Yeah.
Right? But
So smooth.
to G, it doesn't seem like I know. And so what I'm doing there is I go, you're obviously thinking of a red card, and I pause very slightly. And then I continue if I don't see a reaction, I go, or a black card, and I don't know which. Well, because there were no reaction, I know it's black. But let's say it were red, I'd go, so I know that this is obviously a red card, and then I get this little smile and a yes,
Yeah.
and straight away I know it's that. So don't really overthink that, it's a really easy thing. But use the crib on the back. It's just an easy system that's self-working. Again, most of this stuff, like I said, is nice, easy, self-working material that you just can have at your fingertips at a moment's notice. And so something else that's on the card that I want to point out is something that is the only thing really on this entire set that you're going to have to remember, and it's not a lot to remember. I'm going to teach you how to do it. This is as old as the hills, but this is a really nice new spin on an old concept. So G, if I said to you, and we're not going to make this ridiculous, we'll say under 50 to keep this, us from going miles and miles off here, to think of a 2-digit number, but make both digits odd and make both digits different. So 11 wouldn't work, but 15 definitely would. And tell me when you've got a random 2-digit number inside your head.
Yes.
Is this a fair choice?
Yeah.
Would you believe me if I told you that I'd predicted in advance the exact number that you were going to go for?
Knowing you, I'd say it was an absolute certainty.
Okay. What number is it?
37.
37. Now on the back of this code, there's a 3-digit number on the security strip.
Yeah.
Turn it over and tell everybody what it says.
37.
It says 037.
037.
It's a nice little easy thing that you can do, and you don't need to use the bank card. The bank card's just here if you wanted to hand them it whilst they've got it in the hand, whilst they're messing around. And the way this works is this, is the specifications for this is a 2-digit number under 50. That's the first thing. Both digits need to be odd and both need to be different. And then you say, so 11, that wouldn't work, but 15 really would. Well, when you think about it, there's not really many numbers left because both digits have to be odd. So it has to be a 2-digit number. So you eliminate all the numbers from 0 to 10. Then you've just killed 11. You know that won't work anyway.
Yeah.
15's just been killed.
I went for 15 to begin with.
And then I mentioned it.
You ruined it, and I was like, oh no, and I quickly went 37.
And that's it. So you can't have 33.
Yeah.
35, you just mentioned 15, so you're not going to go for that. 37 is really the only number that's left that you can go for, but it seems so much bigger. Now, when Brad were in the chair, we were talking about dressing these ideas up in your own way and giving them your own spin. And so what I tend to do, and this doesn't take much, it's all presentational, is that if you're going to go for a number from 1 to 10, instead of saying to somebody like, think of a single digit, what you can do is just put both your hands behind your back and hold up an amount of fingers so that your friends can see what number you're thinking of, but I don't know, and then bring your hands out.
Yeah.
Now they have to go for a number under 10 because they're using their fingers. But if you look at the spectrum of giving somebody the entire choice in the world, and I said think of a number from 1 to 10, it all of a sudden seems very small. Whereas if you're presentationally asking somebody to hold up an amount of fingers, 10's now the maximum number, and it's capped off naturally at 10. And that's the same with this. If you wanted to redress it, you wouldn't have to necessarily tell them to think of a number under 50. You could use your watch, we're going to make up a random amount of minutes.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Lottery.
Or the lottery, a lottery ball, that's even better. It's a nice, interesting way to keep it under 50. And so again, just one more time to specify, this is all you need to say to make this work. You just copy what I'm saying verbatim. 2-digit number, under 50, both digits are different, and both are odd. That's it. Mm-hmm. And then you press 11 wouldn't work, but 15 would. And it's self-working.
What percentage of time do you get it right on that one?
Well, there's only 2 numbers you can go for. So, and you just mentioned 15, and so that kills 35. So I'd say about 95% of the time. Yeah, 95%.
What do you do if they say 35 or 17?
Well, this is the great thing about mentalism, and again, it's something else that me and Brad discussed in depth. One of the greatest outs in mentalism, and this is the best thing for you to take away from this set in terms of your excuses if something goes wrong. Let's say that you've not listened to me and you got 335, right? A number that I've not even asked for. So think of a 2-digit number. Both numbers are odd and both are different. And then I said to you, would you believe me if I predicted this in advance?
Yes.
You probably would. What number are you thinking of?
333.
333. You know what? It's really interesting. Every single time I ask somebody for a number, they don't realise that it's just me wanting to know how they think. Mm-hmm. So what you've just done there is taken your brain off somewhere else and let me see a glimpse behind the veil of the things that you're thinking of. It tells me everything I need to know about you. So if you don't mind, now I know about you, could I try something with you?
Such a cheeky out.
Yeah, it is, because they don't know what it is. If anything ever goes massively wrong, just say, now I'm going to be really honest with you. That was just for me to get your brain somewhere else in order to see the things that are inside your head. And now I know how you think. Can we try something? Nothing's happened yet. So you don't need to learn anything. It's just a little excuse for you to use, and you can apply that to any of this stuff. If anything's going drastically wrong, or you feel you've lost control of, or you've peeked a card and you've put it back in and you've forgotten what it is, just say, what card were you thinking of? And then they tell you. And you said, now this might not seem like anything to anybody else, but that tells me everything I need to know about you. Well, now give yourself another chance, So it's something you don't really need to worry about. But this is the great thing about the card, is the reason that we built so many different ideas into it is because it enables you to pick and choose what idea that you want to use
Yeah.
on here. Now, there's another idea that's built into the card that I'd love to show you a studio performance of. And I'm going to show you it start to finish. So what I'll do is I'll put the card into my wallet and we'll run it start to finish so you can see what it looks like. And then I'll break it down and explain exactly how it works. So we'll take a look at that. So there's one thing that I've been pondering recently, more so than anything else. It's this idea that there might be an alternative universe that exists out there somewhere that's the exact same as this one, but the exact opposite at the same time. And what I mean by that is, I was chatting with a few friends recently, and they said, wouldn't it be interesting that if in the cosmos somewhere on one of the planets, there were a version of you, but mirrored? So if you were right-handed, this version would be left-handed. If you went down a path on the right, they'd take the path on the left. They'd do exactly what you did, but it'd be an exact mirror image of what you do. It'd be like you looking at yourself. Mm-hmm. And if you were sat on a beach sort of looking up, it'd be really interesting to imagine that they were looking down and seeing you. It's just such a weird concept, but it really got me wondering that if we could take into account what they were doing up there, and we know what we're doing down here, maybe it'd give us the ability to predict the impossible, because we'd be taking into account all the factors and variables surrounding any given situation. And I'd like to sort of show you what it is that I've been messing about with. Do you have your phone with you?
Yeah.
Can you just take it out and just go to your calculator for me?
Mm-hmm.
And just make sure it doesn't close. If I asked you to give me a random 3-digit number where all the digits were different, what instantly comes to mind?
245.
2, 4, 5. And as I was saying, this alternate universe, they'd obviously go for 5, 4, 2.
Mm-hmm.
They'd go for 5, 4, 2. The exact mirror of what it is that you went for, mm-hmm. right? If I were to ask you whether they had plus or minus this number, what do you feel that they do to this number?
Plus.
So if they're going to plus it in this universe, we'd be
minusing
it. So we're here and now. So what we'll do is we'll minus 245 from 542. And we end up with a random total. What's the total?
297.
So obviously if we were doing that up there, this would be 792. Mm-hmm. But because we minus down here, obviously the total that we received up there, we have to plus it, mm-hmm. right? So if you were to take 297 and add it to 792 and press equals, would you be happy that this is a random total?
Yes.
Now bearing in mind, all we've done is taken numbers from this realm and added it to numbers from that realm and taken some from the others. And if you'd have picked a different 3-digit number, their number would have been different. If you'd have plus down here and not minused, I think we can agree that this total would be different.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way that I could have known this total in advance?
No.
Can you just call out loud the total?
1089.
1089. Now there's one thing that's been sat on this table the entire time outside of this pen and this piece of paper. It's my wallet. Mm-hmm. And I opened it right at the beginning, took the piece of card out and I left it there. I want you just to open it up for me. There's a bank card inside there.
Yes.
Look at the expiry date.
Wow.
It's 1089 and it matches completely the numbers
So
that
good.
They're up there created at complete random.
Wow. I'm trying to work that out. That's crazy. So, what if you've performed that trick with the bank card? And then, because at gigs, when I do card tricks, they go, show me that one where you make the card vanish and it appears in your pocket. And then I struggle to find a way, oh God, I've got to pull off the same routine. Can you do that same routine, but with someone's bank card, some other bank card?
We could try it if you want. Do you have a bank card that we could use?
I do.
You take it out, keep it toward yourself.
Yeah.
I won't look. Just focus on in fact, do you know the long card number off by heart?
About half of it.
Okay, I'll tell you what, start right at the beginning, the very first number.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine saying that to me. Just imagine spelling it out as a word.
Mm-hmm.
Just got the very first letter in this word.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of the first male name that just pops in your head that starts with this letter?
Yeah.
God, this is better. In fact, put the card away a second, I don't need it. This might be more fun. The numbers are irrelevant, the name might be a bit more fun. Just imagine this name in its simplest form, so Peter would be Pete, and think of the exact amount of letters in this name. So this is like 4 letters this time.
Yeah.
You go for Fred. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's just a real cool way to be able to do this. They take a bank card out and they springboard off of it to arrive at a name, and you can tell them what it is. By the way, the number was the number 4.
Yeah. It was.
And I can just tell you that instantly without having to
How?
think about. There's a really interesting thing with bank cards. Now this bit you're going to have to play back. Every single Visa card worldwide starts with a 4. Every single MasterCard worldwide starts with a 5. Usually MasterCards are 55 or 54, so you can get the first 2 digits. If you're looking at American Express, they usually start with a 3. So if somebody's pulling an American Express card out, you know it's going to start with a 3. There's a couple of really interesting things with bank cards that nobody knows about. Could you take the same bank card out for me for a second and just hold it toward yourself? Just hold it like this and just pinch the last 4 digits so that you can't see them on the front and I can't see them on the back, and hold it just like this.
Yeah.
Happy? Give me your wrists. Look right at me. Do you know what these last 4 digits are?
Yes.
100%? Just double check to make sure you're right. In fact, put the card in your pocket for a second and just make sure there's no indentations on your fingers. Yeah?
No, all good.
Think of any number inside there, don't tell me what it is. So you change from the one in the second position to the third position. You're thinking of a 9.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, give me your hands. Imagine that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 0. I'm going to move your hands past these. Please don't give anything away. Just focus on that first number. Start with an 8.
It does.
5.
Yes.
You can drop your hand a second. 859. Just imagine saying it to me. 8596. Last 4 digits on the borrowed bank card like
So
that. You
good.
cover it, and it's real cool, real simple, real easy. But again, it's applying the same logic that we learned right at the start with the billets. A bank card.
How did you get that I would go for the 3rd number in?
That's just based on placement. So like I talked about this with Brad earlier on, and I didn't get the letter that Brad were thinking of. But let's say that I didn't, because it's a really great point, and it's again just presentational. You don't have to do it the way that I did it. I'm just a little bit more confident at that type of stuff. You can just say the 4 numbers. But let's say that you'd not gone for that, and you say, no, I'm not thinking of that. So you went for a 9, and you go, no, I'm not thinking of that. So a 9. No? Did you go for that?
I did. In the
Yeah.
beginning.
So let's say that you didn't, right? So
yeah.
so you went for a 9. No.
No.
You see, I was picking up on your subconscious flits, and I think that you passed. There is a 9 in there. I'm sure there is. There's a 9 inside there, right?
Yes.
I thought so. Just go back to the beginning and start to go over them again. And because the number's definitely in there, you're just washing away the mist by saying, I'm sure I saw your unconscious or your subconscious passing over that. And I wouldn't really think too much about it. But the way that this works is really simple. Is on the security strip of a bank card, the last 4 digits are more often than not actually printed on the security strip.
Really? Really?
Exactly. I didn't know.
And you can hear everybody in the room. You know, this is a room full of people that didn't know that. And so what happens is when they cover this like this and they're holding it there, it's right there for you, for free. And it's just a simple little thing that's just...
That's what you just did with G, right?
Yeah, just there, look, just... I won't show the card on camera.
How good is that?
You had no idea?
I had no idea.
That's
Wow.
just blown my mind.
Did you know?
No,
I didn't know either.
You know why? Because I have this down memory times.
Yeah, so it's...
That's great.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, so in 2012 I came up with that, and it's one of those little hidden gems that hardly anybody knows. It's so underground. But it's just the same as...
Pull a card out.
Yeah,
We're going to try somebody else.
we're all getting cards out now. I think on American Express it's not on the back.
Okay.
But
It's
on
like Visa, MasterCard.
Visas, MasterCards, you know.
So I bet you people at home now watching this, and they're scrambling for their wallet, and they're like, is it on the back? Have you got a Visa
Oh,
there?
it is.
There you
It's
go.
right before the 3-digit number.
Oh, shit, it is.
There you go. How cool is
Yeah.
that?
And, yeah. Wow.
Oh, it's not in the Wells Fargo.
It's on the majority of them, but if it's not on them, the great thing to do is this. Remember we talked earlier on about the one ahead with a card. Just use the one ahead with a card.
How would you do that?
Just the same as, you remember the name where we used the one ahead with the marked playing card earlier on? If it's not on the back and you don't see it, just move straight into your one ahead, do a playing card and the last 4 digits on the card. Boom. These outs work for everything on the set, not just if you miss a billet peak. If for example, it's not on the strip, which majority of cases it is, just move straight into that out with the spread of the cards, moving them just like we discussed earlier on. Nice, simple, easy. So yeah, so the first digits, like I say, get them to think of the first digit, tie it to something meaningful. The last 4 digits, pinching it like this, just a little peek, boom, it's a moment of mentalism that you've got at your fingertips in a second.
Thinking back, you got me to put the card away as well, which means I couldn't check to see.
It's gone, yeah. And I also make you check your fingers. That's another thing is as well, is always try to kill. It's not like magic. Like magic, you don't say what it is you're doing. So for example, you don't go, I'm spreading the cards on the table. I'm taking 2 cards apart. You don't ever overview what it is that you do when you're doing a magic trick, but you're doing mentalism. And the reason you're doing mentalism is because they'll remember it the way that you said then.
Yeah.
So what you could say, for example, is, I had you hold on to this like this. You know, you check to make sure there were no indentations. You put it away into your pocket. I never touched this. This is literally about me and you now. And that's it, that line, this is about me and you now. Do you know what I mean? It's just a real nice little line that just suggests that this is just 2 minds working in sync. And I also like the idea presentationally of 2 minds having a conversation without verbally actually saying a word, you know? So I always say, you can't read my mind, so I'm going to talk to you, and what I want you to do is just respond inside your head. So my name's Pete, your name is, and you just respond inside your head like that, and you have a little conversation with somebody's mind. And then when it comes to it and you go, and you will give this away, just don't say anything. So what's your favourite place in the world? And thinking about it, imagine going there now, and as you're there, just in your head, tell me the first number on the bank card. And that's it. So this is an 8, right?
Yeah.
And then you nail in the first number. It's just a presentation, a little flair, but it's really nice and really creative. And so you can use that. And it's just, like I say, a little simple thing that you can do with bank cards.
That's awesome. So good.
Yeah, another way to do this, another really interesting way to do this is to up the probability of somebody having the numbers on the security strip. If you're performing for 4 people, chances are that someone's going to have that 4-digit number on the strip. So if you get everybody to set the cards out simultaneously, everybody to cover the last digit, the last 4 digits like this, and you've got to be very specific that they hold it like this. And then all you do is just look around and say you're all happy that you've got yours covered and nobody knows anybody else's numbers. And just pick one that's got the numbers on the back of the strip and you say, now I'm going to look at who I feel I can read the best. So I'm going like this, I'm looking. Okay, you can get rid of yours, you can get rid of yours. I think I'm going to work with you for this. And just point to the one that has the numbers on the strip. Do you know the last 4 digits on your card? And you need to ask that question. Because if they say yes, then you're going to say perfect. Well, we don't even need the card. If they say no, you say, well, I'm going to look away. Quickly check, please check. Remember them, check there's no indentations on your fingers and stick it straight into your pocket. And it goes straight into the pocket, and now you're guaranteed the outcome and nailing the last 4 digits. And one little other touch that I'm going to share with you. So cool, right? One little other touch that I'm going to share with you is, you often find that people pull their mobile phones out halfway through a performance. Or they walk into a performance halfway through. So what I always say is, just to give this an air of tension, I'm going to refer to this 4-digit number as your PIN code. So if I ever say to you, think of your PIN code, think of the last 4 digits on your card, and you're doing this real time. So now when you see people come in, or if somebody takes a mobile phone out, or you want to film it, what you can say is, can you just hold this for me and press record? So you just think of your PIN code for me. Now there's no way that I could know it, right? And start filming from that point. And now when you play it back on the video, all you get is think, and they never see the card. You know, you think of your PIN code for me, look at me, you're doing this, boom, 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 you nail it, and there you go. To everybody else that watches the video, when you upload it onto social media or show your friends, you've just guessed somebody's PIN code, and the reaction of everybody else in the room sells that as well. Just a really strong little subtlety there, just to up the, you know, the few digits that it is on the card.
That's brilliant.
So good. Just had an idea. When you've got a group of people, you can pretend you can see the back of their strip. You can pretend. I feel in mentalism, in mind reading, when you say to somebody, "I can't read you," you add an air of realism to the entire routine. You're really hard to read, but you just remember the 4 digits on the back of the card, and then you can come back to it once the card's gone away. You can come back to it at a later point and say, you know, we've been doing these tricks, but I think I've tuned into the way that you think now. The last 4 digits on your card, I'm gonna write down what I think they are. You get a billet, they pull their card out and they match.
And that's it. And this,
Yeah.
and again, there's a series of great outs. I mean, that's a great touch. And you just reminded me of something. If you don't mind us going off for a minute on a bit of a tangent to come back to something that is also back inside the box, which is the marked cards. There's a really interesting thing that you can do based on the line of logic that you just opened up for me. And at some point, I did want to mention this, but I didn't know where it sort of naturally fit in. And I think this is a great time to do it. I'd love to show you. I don't know how it's going to work, but let's take a look at that. It's another performance that's using the cards that we've already had out, but there's just something really nice about the way that this works, because it also enables me to be able to look at you and tell you a piece of information there's no way that I could know.
Yeah, let's do it.
So there's one thing that I've been pondering recently, more so than anything else. It's this idea that there might be an alternative universe that exists out there somewhere that's the exact same as this one, but the exact opposite at the same time. And what I mean by that is, I was chatting with a few friends recently, and they said, wouldn't it be interesting that if in the cosmos somewhere on one of the planets, there were a version of you, but mirrored? So if you were right-handed, this version would be left-handed. If you went down a path on the right, they'd take the path on the left. They'd do exactly what you did, but it'd be an exact mirror image of what you do. It'd be like you looking at yourself. Mm-hmm. And if you were sat on a beach sort of looking up, it'd be really interesting to imagine that they were looking down and seeing you. It's just such a weird concept, but it really got me wondering that if we could take into account what they were doing up there, and we know what we're doing down here, maybe it'd give us the ability to predict the impossible, because we'd be taking into account all the factors and variables surrounding any given situation. And I'd like to sort of show you what it is that I've been messing about with. Do you have your phone with you?
Yeah.
Can you just take it out and just go to your calculator for me?
Mm-hmm.
And just make sure it doesn't close. If I asked you to give me a random 3-digit number where all the digits were different, what instantly comes to mind?
245.
2, 4, 5. And as I was saying, this alternate universe, they'd obviously go for 5, 4, 2.
Mm-hmm.
They'd go for 5, 4, 2. The exact mirror of what it is that you went for, mm-hmm. right? If I were to ask you whether they had plus or minus this number, what do you feel that they do to this number?
Plus.
So if they're going to plus it in this universe, we'd be minusing it. So we're here and now. So what we'll do is we'll minus 245 from 542. And we end up with a random total. What's the total?
297.
So obviously if we were doing that up there, this would be 792. Mm-hmm. But because we minus down here, obviously the total that we received up there, we have to plus it, mm-hmm. right? So if you were to take 297 and add it to 792 and press equals, would you be happy that this is a random total?
Yes.
Now bearing in mind, all we've done is taken numbers from this realm and added it to numbers from that realm and taken some from the others. And if you'd have picked a different 3-digit number, their number would have been different. If you'd have plus down here and not minused, I think we can agree that this total would be different. Mm-hmm. Is there any way that I could have known this total in advance?
No.
Can you just call out loud the total?
1089.
1089. Now there's one thing that's been sat on this table the entire time outside of this pen and this piece of paper. It's my wallet. Mm-hmm. And I opened it right at the beginning, took the piece of card out and I left it there. I want you just to open it up for me. There's a bank card inside there.
Yes.
Look at the expiry date.
Look at that.
It's 1089 and it matches completely The numbers
So good.
they're created at complete random.
Wow. I'm trying to work that out. That's crazy.
If you look at the credit card, you'll notice that it says valid from 1089. And 1089 is an interesting mathematical force that you can use as another effect from this box, and I'd love to teach you that effect. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of how it works. The presentation of this effect is the interesting thing, it's the driving factor. This is the only time inside this set that you're ever going to really have to worry about focusing on the presentation. And it's a good practice because at the end of the day, ultimately you want to be leaving, after learning everything inside this set, somebody who can genuinely appear to read minds. And the best way to do that is to learn a little bit of acting. So first I'm going to share with you the formula to make this work in case you didn't want to do this and you just want to do it as a quick snappy maths trick, which is great. And then I'm going to teach you how to dress this up so it looks like a real genuine piece of interesting mind reading. So the formula is this, and if you take your calculators out you can follow along. You type in a different random 3-digit number. So let's say that the number is 628. Now you've got to reverse that number, so it'd be 826. What you want to do is you want to take the smaller number away from the larger number. So let me repeat that. You're going to think of, ask somebody to call out a random 3-digit number. So let's say it's 326. You say to them, I want you to reverse that, and so that'd be 623. What you do is you take the smaller 3-digit number from the larger one. So in this case, it'd be 623 minus 326. Hopefully you're following along. Press equals. You'll end up at a random total. So in this case, it'll be 297. And what you do now is you reverse 297, which will give you 792. If you add 297 to 792, you'll find that the total is 1089. And that'll work every single time that you do this. So you take a 3-digit number and you reverse it. You found out which is the higher of the two numbers. You take the smaller one from the larger one. Now you'll get a total. You reverse that total and you add the total together, the two reverse numbers. And that'll always total 1089. So let's try this with a different set of 3 digits. Let's say that it was 421. If you were to reverse that, that's 124. Well, 421 is already the higher of the two 3-digit numbers. So what you'd do is you'd have 421 and you'd minus 124. That'll give you a total again of 297. If you were to reverse 297, it'd be 792. If you were to add 792 to 297, it's going to again give you 1089. You won't always end up with 297. Sometimes it'll be a little bit different. So let's give a third example where we try to force a different outcome. So let's say that somebody said 896. Now obviously the reverse of 896 is 698. So you take 698 from 896. So think about that. 896 is the higher of the two 3-digit numbers. And you'll get a total this time that's hopefully different to what we got before. So the total this time is 198. And I'm doing the arithmetic off the top of my head. If you were to reverse 198, it'd be 891. Sorry, again, I'm doing this off the top of my head. So you'd be using a calculator. Don't try to do this mentally. And again, 891 plus 198 should give you 1089. And that'll happen every single time, as long as you ask for a different 3-digit number. And that'll be the valid from date on the credit card. Perfect, simple, easy, and it's easy to follow. But as it stands, it looks like a force that's an obvious force. So now let's talk about how to dress this up to make it seem like something that's a lot more impressive. Now the presentation that I chose from this is inspired by a quick sentence that I saw on a film called The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio, which is a great movie. If you've not seen it, I urge you to go and watch it. And as with a lot of lines and scripts and pieces of my presentation, I tend to gain them from music and I get them from films. And in this film, he's on a beach and he's talking about how interesting it'd be to look up at the stars and imagine a universe that reflected the universe that he was in. And there was a person on that universe that's an alternative version of him looking back down at the same time. And the concept blew my mind and I thought, wow, So really, really interesting concept that. And the idea of the film is that, you know, he's a stoner in the film, so it's supposed to evoke that sort of philosophy that a stoner might come up with. And I thought, well, that's interesting anyway. It's such an interesting question. Such an interesting statement. So I thought to myself, well, for this presentation, think about how this would work. So you say to somebody, you know, have you ever wondered if there's an alternative universe out there with a version of yourself that's the exact same but the exact opposite? So if you were left-handed in this world, they'd be right-handed in that world. If you were good in this world, they'd be evil in that world. If you thought of a number in this world, they think of the exact same number, just in reverse. And if you wanted to make a sum and you put plus, they'd put, and they always say minus, right? And so you can see where the presentation's going now. So I always say, okay, so name a 3-digit number. So let's say that they name 397. So I write down 397 on a piece of paper. Then what I do is I say, now in that world, what number would they have gone for? And then they'll say 793, right? They say it. But if they don't say it, what I do is I say they go for 793. So now this is where it becomes interesting. I then type in 793 into the calculator, and I say, if we were to add or subtract this number, what would you do in this world? If they say minus, you say, okay, well, perfect, we'll minus 397 from 793. If they say plus, you say, okay, so remember that you chose to do a plus in this world, but we've started with 793, which were their number. So we'll do a minus, and then in a moment we'll apply your plus. So that's a form of magician's choice, which we talked about earlier. Essentially, you're just forcing them to minus the smaller number from the larger one under the guise of it being something that they do in another universe, right? Now you press equals, and you say, we've arrived at this total, which should be 396. Now, obviously, your total would be different. Yours would be 693 because it'd be in reverse. And because we've already used their minus, let's use your plus. So we'll plus 396 to 693. And what do we arrive at? 1089. And that's taking the things that they do in their world and the things that we do in our world, and we're collating time and space to create a total that's so improbable and impossible to predict in advance. I feel that this is totally fair. And then you show them it on the bank card they've been holding the entire time. Great presentation, simple, easy. Again, there will be specific bits of this that you'd have to replay back to get the concept, but essentially, larger number from the smaller 3-digit number, you just minus one from the other, then whatever the total is, you reverse that and add the two numbers together, and that's it. You arrive at 1089 every single time. And it's really as easy as that.